Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jake Hess, and I'm the unit chief assigned to the Santa Clara unit for CAL FIRE. And that Santa Clara unit encompasses 5 counties of CAL FIRE operations and administration. So that's Santa Clara County, Alameda County, Contra Costa County, and the western portions of Stanislaus and San Joaquin County. Want to take an opportunity and welcome everybody today behind me, as well as everybody that's listening today to the very important topic of wildfire preparedness. So thank you for taking the time to have a discussion with us about wildfire preparedness. This week, really the focus throughout the state this week is on wildfire preparedness, and it's really we're looking for raising awareness with communities and individual families on being prepared. I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize some of my partners, some of the elected officials and directors that are here today, because everybody plays a role in wildfire preparedness and prevention. I'd like to thank Chief Dave Winokur, Fire Chief of Moraga Fire Protection District, Chief Louis Burchard, Chief of the Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, Marguerite Young, Director of East Bay Municipal Utility District. And Marguerite, thank you for the opportunity in hosting this event today. John Joya, Contra Costa County Board of Supervisor, District 1, as well as the Board of Director for Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. Craig Jorgens, President of the Moraga Fire Protection District. Mike McClure, City of Moraga's Mayor. Amy Worth, City of Orinda Mayor. And Susan Candle, Lafayette Mayor. The 2020 fire siege directly impacted this region last year with a 396,000 acre fire. And that mega fire was the SCU Lightning Complex. And I just wanted to take a minute and recognize the outstanding efforts and the cooperation that was associated with that mega fire regionally right here with our local government partners, law enforcement agencies, state and federal resources that really all came together to put together a 396,000 piece puzzle, is how I look at that fire as the agency administrator of that. I'd also like to bring attention to the North Orinda shaded fuel break. This was a fuel break that was birthed from the 45-day report that CAL FIRE did in 2019, and it was one of the 35 projects that was identified to protect communities throughout California. This was a multi-agency, multi-jurisdictional project that really kind of reimagined fuel reduction right here in this region. And I want to take a moment to recognize Chief Winokur's outstanding efforts and the Moraga Fire Protection District for going out on a limb with us and for thinking outside the box, being creative, and being that cooperative spirit in tackling a project such as that. Because it does take all of us to address this issue of fire preparedness and fire prevention. So moving forward, we are partnering and looking for additional opportunities for additional fuel breaks in this region through our CCI grant projects. With that, I would like to introduce to you our CAL FIRE Director, Chief Tom Porter.
Well, thank you, Chief Hess, and thank you all for being here today. Elected officials and officials from the area, thank you, the public, for paying attention to what is really a call out for you to act. I'm going to cover a whole lot of things today, but I want you to think about what you can do to act as I'm speaking today. This is a week that we focus annually on what we can do together to be prepared, but what you can do as individuals, homeowners, renters, just members of the public, to protect yourselves, your families, and your communities. So over the past several years, it's been quite challenging. And I need not say here in the Bay Area how devastating it is when your hillsides are on fire, some of your communities are on fire, and you're deep in smoke that looks like Armageddon for a week on end. That's an amazing thing that's becoming all too frequent here in California. And you all are in the middle of that and seeing the effects of that, both in health, but also in the resilience of your community and your watersheds and the places that you love and want to recreate. It's estimated that fire season is approximately 75 days longer than it was 30 years ago. That's 75 more days that are at a peak burning condition every year than we were just 30 years ago. When I started my career, we expected that we were in a 3-month season in the north part of the state, a 6-month season, 7 months maybe in the south part of the state. Now it's every bit of 9 months throughout the state. And we're seeing an additional need for resources to fight those fires, resources to backfill and fight new fires, and a very considerable effort needs to be done to prevent fires going forward and increase the resiliency of the landscape and your communities in the meantime. That is fire prevention and fire preparedness. CAL FIRE this year asked for early augmentation and emergency funding and has hired an additional 1,200 to 1,400 firefighters as of now, ahead of schedule. We've put those firefighters on hand crews, we've put them on engines, and we are ready to go. We're continuing as of today, looking to hire early, again, even more of those firefighters ahead of what is our traditional peak season. More to come on that in the weeks to come, but we're finding the need this year to staff up and be ready for what looks like it could be as challenging as last year. We are continuing with our fuel reduction efforts, our fuels grant programs, so your communities can do work in these hills, much as Chief Hess mentioned, doing those projects that are geared toward protecting you and your communities as a community. That funding is open right now, and applications are being accepted through May 19th. We're continuing to do our prescribed burning and fuel reduction work as an agency and as partners with our federal and local agencies. So more smoke in the air during days that are not windy and fire prone like today is, under red flag conditions in some places here, but days when the prescription window is open and it's appropriate to burn without risk of losing those fires and them becoming large and damaging. So, preparedness. Preparedness. There's so much to that word. I've talked to you about some of what CAL FIRE has done, some of what our sister agencies and departments have done. Included in that is adding now 5 of our S-70I CAL FIRE Hawk helicopters that are larger and faster, and they're going to change the way we do our rotary wing firefighting on the CAL FIRE initial attack side, as well as give us more support during our extended attack fires. 5 of 12 are in California today. We expect number 6 and number 7 by the end of this month, and we will be continuing to deploy those throughout the year until we have all 12 available. So you, again, you, what can you do? Lots you can do. Defensible space. Meet the clearance standards of your communities, of your local fire districts. Meet them at a minimum of what the state requires on state responsibility area. You're looking out 100 feet. If you've got that to give, you got to be working in all of it. You also can do a lot toward hardening your home. We have a low-cost retrofit list of things that you can do as a homeowner to make your home more resilient to and more resistant to ember intrusion and then burning down in the event of a fire. You need to think of it this way. Every acre in California can and will burn someday. You need to be prepared as if it's going to happen today. So do your hardening of your structure, do your defensible space, work with your community to make sure that others are doing the same, and that is what's going to do the most to protect your community when we do have that wildfire that will come to your neighborhood. So, how does this stack up? Where are we? Right now, today, we have seen both combined, federal and state, 1,787 wildfires for 8,420 acres. That is well above what our 5-year average is. It is, we are seeing conditions right now this year that are a month or two down the road. So it's not too late, but it's right now that you need to do the work that I've been talking about. It needs to be done now. With that, I am going to go ahead and pass the mic to Office of Emergency Services Director Mark Ghilarducci.
Well, good morning, and thanks, Chief Porter. Mark Ghilarducci, Director of the Governor's Office of Emergency Services. Really happy to be here today as we highlight Wildfire Preparedness Week. I'm happy to be and join our colleagues that are behind me from the Highway Patrol and CAL FIRE, the U.S. Forest Service, the National Guard, and of course, our great local partners, our local fire agencies and local elected officials. Together, we collectively respond to and recover from emergencies and disasters in the state. So it has to be this collective effort of all the people you see standing behind me. You know, sort of amplifying Chief Porter, we are here again entering another challenging wildfire season. The last several years have been hard. More acres burned, more homes lost, more property destroyed, and unfortunately, far too many deaths. Last year alone, Cal OES and the State Operations Center filled more than 12,500 requests for mutual aid assistance in support of CAL FIRE and local government fire agencies throughout California, and over 6,000 overhead management positions. And in the end, since it was such a monumental fire year last year, we saw 32 counties fall under a major presidential disaster declaration. That's a history. First ever that we would see that many counties at one time under a presidential major disaster declaration for wildfire. We know that this pattern is not slowing anytime soon. As the governor likes to say, the hots are getting hotter and the dries are getting drier. We are actually in red flag conditions today here in Northern California. You can see the wind and the temperature. We are getting into these seasons earlier and earlier. Changes in climate have and continue to impact our fire season challenges. More intense, more fast-moving fires, more extreme fires. And the conditions continue to evolve, but really not for the good. Cal OES and all of our partner agencies here today are doing everything possible to address the ongoing challenges. More equipment, more technology, better vegetation management, more resources. In fact, the governor this year has invested $2.9 billion into wildfire preparedness, forest and vegetation management, education, and in firefighting resources. And beyond what CAL FIRE has, OES has added an additional 100 pieces of firefighting equipment to over 60 local jurisdictions to enhance our mutual aid system, as well as increase the use of technology both on the ground and in the air, and enhance our pre-positioning of fire strike teams in advance of fires. In fact, in this last year, we pre-positioned fire assets over 300 times in advance of fires to be able to rapidly get on top of fires. But we cannot do this alone, as Chief Porter mentioned. This is a one team, one fight effort. The solution lies with all of us, public, private, non-governmental, and all of you. We must all be part of building a resilient California. Building defensible space, hardening or retrofitting your home to make it more fire resistant, having a family plan and supplies, educating yourself on the fire threats in your community and knowing what to do, understanding evacuation routes and practicing them both in the daytime and at the nighttime, since they look different. It's important to understand how alerts are issued. Your alert and warning systems, usually pushed out by local law enforcement, local fire, or CAL FIRE. At times, you can learn more about this by going to www.calalerts.org to sign up for disaster alerts. You can go to readyforwildfire.org to learn about defensible space, and you can go to caloes.ca.gov to learn about preparedness activities. Make a plan. Make sure that you've got battery backup for all of your devices so that you can get your information that you need. Have a full tank of gas and practice your family plan and have some supplies. And lastly, and most importantly, if a fire happens in your area and you are told to evacuate, don't wait, do it. It's your life. Thanks. Let me now turn it over to Assistant Commissioner Rich Stewart with the California Highway Patrol.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor for us to be here in partnership with CAL FIRE, Cal OES, and recognition of Wildfire Preparedness Week. As you've heard, the theme discussed this morning is the great teamwork and partnership that we have between our agencies and all the law enforcement agencies throughout the state. Our main job is to keep people safe and to save lives. And in order for us to do that, we have to be on the front lines and ready to go at any time to ensure that those that need to be evacuated get those notices ahead of time and that you heed those evacuation orders. Anyone that's lived in California for any period of time knows how frightening and how dangerous wildfires are, and they happen very fast. So you need to have a plan, you need to be prepared, and you need to react fast. Don't wait until it's too late. Every year, law enforcement officers go in and help rescue those that are either trapped or stranded or that have waited too long to leave. And we ask that don't do that. Don't put yourselves in harm's way unnecessarily. Get out early. Let 911 dispatchers know where you're at if you're trapped. But please, be prepared and stay ahead of it. It's no sense in putting yourself in a dangerous situation, putting those first responders in a dangerous situation to come in and save those that didn't leave early enough. So have an emergency preparedness kit available and ready to go at all times. We're a statewide law enforcement agency. We help every year with the joint effort to keep Californians safe. And that's what we encourage all of you to do, is be prepared. We know it's coming, and please listen to those emergency evacuation orders. Thank you so much.
Hi, good morning. My name is Robert Baird. I'm the Director of Fire and Aviation Management for the U.S. Forest Service here in California, which is the Pacific Southwest region. The U.S. Forest Service and our other interior partners manage your forests in California, which is about 20 million acres, or about 1/4 of the state. So we have a significant partnership here with our state fire officials, state fire entities, the county and elected officials locally, as well as OES, who assist us through mutual aid, and our law enforcement partners. We are one team, and we go after wildfire preparedness as one team. Last year, we experienced a record wildland fire season, as well as the pandemic. Both of those were continued to be challenges. However, this year, we can already see, if you can't feel it, the wind, the heat, and the humidity, dry humidity is we are set up for another very destructive year here in California. We're here in the East Bay, and if you've looked around, you can see these brown trees are dead and dying trees, which is part of tree mortality that's spanning across California. There are millions of dead trees, and all of those pose hazards across California for all of us. We ask every citizen to do their part to prepare for the threat of wildfire, to be extra vigilant while you're recreating, especially up in areas that are fire prone, to make sure that you reduce the possibility of a human-caused fire. In California, 9 out of 10 fires are caused by humans. Last year we had a significant lightning bust that traveled through California in August, and it caused us to have a tremendous response last year. Part of what the federal team brings to the state is we can draw resources from across the United States. Last year, we brought in crews from Canada to the Plumas National Forest to assist with the North Complex. For the first time in history, we brought in crews from Mexico to assist with our wildfire resources and to give the firefighters on the line needed break and added capacity, as well as mobilizing the Marines from Camp Pendleton to assist. In addition to the Army, we brought in from Joint Base Lewis McChord. So the federal part of the team is to draw resources from across the United States, bring them in when needed into California to assist us with our response. As an agency, we're doing everything we can to be prepared. We're hiring, all as similar to CAL FIRE, we're hiring our seasonals on. We're staffing more than 260 engines across California. We have more than 100 hand crews, including elite hotshots, that are put in the most challenging areas of the wildfires. We've staffed our night flying helicopter that provides assistance, because often in California, especially Southern California, we can see and experience tremendous wind events at night and sundowner winds that can lead to damaging and destructive and frankly killer wildfires that can really be damaging and terrible to the public. We need your help this year. We need your help to be prepared. We need you to take a good hard look at the trees around your property, to look at the vulnerabilities that you may have, and to reduce those fuels and create defensible space. What we mean by defensible space is to break up in a barrier so that the fire will not extend from the wildland or where it's burning onto your property. It's very important that you pre-establish this defensible space so that when the fire comes, it's too late. That's the time to evacuate. Wildfire Preparedness Week used to have a slogan, ready, set, go. We don't use that anymore, if you notice. We say, go. We don't have time in California. It's too frequent. Law enforcement is often put in a terrible situation where they're trying to oust people from their homes. But it's important when you get the evacuation notice, when you get the evacuation orders, that you've created your defensible space, you can leave your property, and you can make sure that you can evacuate safely to take care of your loved ones. Thank you very much for the time, and I'll be followed by Chief Tom Porter at CAL FIRE.
All right, that concludes our canned remarks. What I'd like to do is open it now for any questions that you might have. We'll be happy to one and all answer. Any questions?
What's the cause of mortality of the tree?
That's a great question. So around here in the East Bay Hills and throughout the Bay Area, actually, there's been noted for the last 18 months or so a lot of extra mortality. And when you look out here, a red pine tree is a dead pine tree. So they're not coming back. Some trees will come back. Pines, once they're red, they're dead and gone. So what's happening is through extended dry conditions. So we've had drought, then we've had dry conditions, we've had a little moisture, but not enough over time to support these trees. And so primarily it's drought conditions, but then also secondary pests, insects that are endemic to the area, and then some exotic pests as well on the eucalyptus and some of the non-native species. So it's a combination of things, but it's all pointing back to dry conditions and climate change.
You mentioned that you had to get some firefighters, international firefighters, last year. Are you staffing up this year ahead of what's likely going to be a very destructive wildfire season, as you mentioned, or is staffing?
Sure, and that's a great question. I won't address the out-of-country resources. That's something that we still can access, and as Chief Baird mentioned, and then we also have efforts that we can do on the state side through Governor's Office of Emergency Services and Mark Ghilarducci. But staffing up California firefighters right now, yes, and that is what I was mentioning about the roughly 1,400 additional personnel above and beyond our normal hire. And then we're hiring the rest of our seasonals earlier than we normally would, so we'll have them on through a longer period of the season. That doesn't change the fact that we still, in California, with all of our mutual aid partners, our federal partners, and state firefighters, we still are right on the edge of being able to meet the need during these very difficult years. And that's going to be the same again this year. But yes, we are staffing up earlier. Sure, and so with our cooperative program with California Correctional Department, or Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, we have a program that has roughly it's about 152 crews available through that program right now, allotted. We're only able to staff approximately, and we've only been able to staff approximately for the last several years, anywhere from 50 to 75%. Last year we were down in that 50% range. Right now today we're below that 50% range, but that's part of why we hired firefighters early and put them into hand crew configuration. So we're adding some free firefighting capability to balance some of the needs that we don't have from the inmate population and CDCR. But it is our biggest concern is boots on the ground, because aircraft don't put fires out. Boots on the ground put fires out, and that's fire engine boots on the ground as well as those hand crew types.
And just so people understand, I mean, we all have seen it because we've been out there watching and seeing what you guys do, but I mean, the shovels and doing what they do, I think everyone thinks you're just going to pour water on it.
Right. That's a great point. A fire is not out until we cut line around a fire. You can put water on it, you can drop air tankers on it. It is not out until we put line around it with hand crews on the ground, bulldozers, and scrape that fuel away to bare mineral soil. That's what puts a fire out. And that's a big part of what those crews do. Thank you. Yes. Any other questions? Me or any of my counterparts? All right. Seeing none, thank you all for coming. Thanks for your attention to this important subject this week. And we'll be around for a few minutes if you want to grab us.